Here it comes.
Looks like Sasquatch.
Oh man. Two percussionists, a drummer and percussionist. So heavy for its time. This guy on the percussion, he's just... That bass line. I love the 70s effects in the background too. We're trying to do this primitive shit. King Crimson.
Oh, no wonder King Crimson wasn't that popular. Oh man, he's going crazy.
So nuts.
My guy looks like
making bird sounds. All right, welcome to the show, gang. That is that's my new way of introducing our episodes. Gonna start off prog rock.
Yeah, we can do that. Oh shit. Yeah, bad, yo. Technical difficulties.
We're all good. We're all
We're known
good.
for our high production value.
Yeah, high production value. God damn it.
So yeah, that was King Crimson. Oh my god.
I have it like posted on physics books, and it keeps falling off. Okay, there we
At
go.
least your bookshelf isn't falling over on you like it did.
Oh, did that happen?
You know that guy Caleb Maupin, that really dorky like Stalinist like guy. He's like basically.
Yeah, I remember.
I do remember that guy.
I don't know. Whatever. Here's streaming, even like his bookshelf like falls on him while he's streaming. And
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Anyway.
This guy's so crazy.
Anyway, that was a pretty fucking sick video clip. But we have to talk about more tonight, which is what seems to be an impending war with Iran. And this impending war with Iran is very much something that we all can safely say is being instigated by Israel. And just last week, there was in history as an iconic and very significant interview with the ambassador to Israel by Tucker Carlson with Mike Huckabee.
Oh my god, yeah.
And it's absolutely freaking crazy. So
can we maybe so I know I was talking to Carlos yesterday and he was suffering through it.
I watched about half of it.
Yeah, do you guys want to take me through the greatest hits?
Yeah, some of it, because there's a lot of very revealing stuff.
Well, the first thing that was
I also
like Huckabee is a total moron.
I also wanted to talk about Mosh Machover's article, Israel and the Aircraft Carrier Thesis.
Yeah, very weak article.
And so I want basically all of these things. We have the Huckabee Tucker interview. We have the war with Iran that seems to be pretty much inevitable at this point. And I'd be actually more shocked if we didn't go to war with Iran than if we did at this point. And then we have some of our old head theorists that we respect pushing back with more of a typical arguments that Israel is just the United States aircraft carrier. So we're going to be returning to a classic theme of our streams here, which is the nature of the U.S.-Israel geopolitically going on with all of this stuff. And I think we'll have a good discussion. So, yeah, you were saying you saw some of the Tucker Huckabee interview yesterday.
Yeah, I saw about half of it. It starts with a really long preamble about how sketchy the situation was. He gets to Israel and he doesn't make it off. He doesn't make it out of the airport, and he's being monitored the entire time. A bunch of background information about him and Huckabee. He says at the end that they weren't allowed to leave. That they had taken their passports and then they were subjected to some sort of like intelligence interrogation, I guess. But yeah, other than that, like I saw the first hour or so, and Mike Huckabee is a special case. I want to say something. I want to say that he's something, but I'm not allowed to say what he is. You get what I'm. If you get,
we get what you're saying.
We can just say that he is basically a slave to Israel, and
he's a very weird guy.
But this is American evangelical Christians, man.
Yeah, they're so weird.
They are very freaking weird. I talk to these people. When I go canvassing for stuff around here, I run into these people and I have to talk to them, and they're just beyond reason. I can't deny it. Like, they are kind of beyond reason. Like there's nothing you can tell them that will make them reconsider their positions on some of these things. Like abortion and Israel are really like these two like sacred tenets that they have, and it's easy to just kind of say that it's like, oh, it's just a cynical kind of ideology, the master material interest, but I don't know about that. Like, they seem to truly, like, a lot of these evangelicals do truly like believe in this stuff.
I mean, ideology has its own dynamics.
It does. That guy's a true believer. I don't think there's any masking any material interest with that guy.
No. I think that ideology has its own dynamics.
Yeah. The two kind of egregious moments that I caught were there was one where they were discussing how Israel harbors accused, like sex offenders and child molesters.
Yeah, which it does. It's like there was literally a case the other day where the FBI someone.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson brings that up with Huckabee, and Huckabee pretends not to know that this is a thing.
Yeah.
But he pretends like he doesn't know anything about it. He kind of pushes back when he tells him that, maybe as the U.S. ambassador, he should, get these guys extradited. And he was like, well, that's not my job.
It's not my job.
It's sort of. Right.
Israel. And if Trump wants to push them, then it's up to him. And he plays every card he can to try to be really funny. But
unbelievable.
Right. The other thing that he mentions, though, which is the most egregious thing, I think, is when Tucker Carlson says something like, well, Huckabee says something like he goes by the Bible or whatever. Like,
yeah. That's the first clip I want to show.
Yeah, right. Can we just
bring up this clip because this is the clip that caused every single U.S. Arab ally. Like, this is what it took to get these freaking finally like say something.
Yeah.
And it's a really fucking funny clip. I got it.
No, yeah, shameful capitulation. As if they were ever genuine,
Yeah.
Oh man, this guy. I thought he looked different.
We can look at it that way.
Hold on. Let me start from the beginning. And we can talk more about what Tucker's deal is and what his motivations are here. And but regardless, like the fact that someone is putting this guy to this much pressure is great to see.
You've appealed to Genesis. Genesis 15 says it's Abram, it's pre-Abraham, it's Abram, receives from God the news that his descendants will inherit the land. And you tell me as the theologian if I'm getting this wrong, but from the Euphrates to the Nile. I think that's right. And that would include like basically the entire Middle East. That would be the Levant. So that would be Israel, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon. It would also be big parts of Saudi Arabia and Iraq. It would be,
I'm not sure it would go that far. I mean, it would be a big piece of land, but here's the point.
It would be a lot of places that are now countries.
But this particular area that we're talking about now, Israel, is a land that God gave through Abraham to a people that he chose. It was a people, a place, and a purpose. We can look at it that way. Christian Zionism, I want to go back because that's where we started.
I'm not going to let you off on this because you have said it 3 times that God gave this land to this people. And so it is entirely fair for me with respect to ask, what land are you talking about? Because I just read Genesis 15, as I have many times. Mm-hmm. And that land, I think it says, from the Nile to the Euphrates, which is, once again, basically the entire Middle East. So God gave that land to his people, the Jews, or he didn't. You're saying he did. What does that mean? Does Israel have the right to that land? Because you're appealing to Genesis.
Yeah.
You're saying that's the original deed.
It would be fine if they took it all.
Oh my God. I know I shouldn't be laughing because it is actually deadly serious stuff.
But also, like, I'm gonna say something. I'm just so tired of appeals to make believe to justify real world events. Like, I have respect for a lot of religious people, and I've read a lot of theology, et cetera, et cetera. Someone who studied a lot of philosophy, you have to read theology. They're intertwined at certain moments, but I'm just so tired of this. Like, I do not give a fuck what a book from however many thousands of fucking years ago. Like, I don't care. It doesn't give you the right to anything. It's infuriating. You know what I'm saying?
We can't justify geopolitical, like, these are geopolitical things justified with an Iron Age document. What are we
Yeah,
doing
it's just
here?
like what the like. It's just egregious, honestly. It's just so egregious. We're living with people who have like the mentality of medieval peasants. You know, like actually, it's like feudal thought. God.
Well, his honesty was refreshing, at least, since he was like, they could take it all.
Yeah.
That's usually not something they say out loud.
Yeah, just covering it in the patina of theology.
Well, I think he realizes how bad that sounds, and I think they realize how bad it sounds. So he kept calling back on Israel proper.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just talking about Israel proper, like, but it's about Bible. The deed is the land that the Bible, frames out, and that's what justifies it. That's willing to, and so there's so many contradictions in his worldview where he's like trying to say, well, I'm just saying that Israel has a right to exist, and it has a right to exist because of the Bible, and because of the Bible, it it has a deed to this much land. But I'm not saying that it's all their land. But then he basically says they could take it if they want. He's not coherent, and I think, is it just because Zionists like haven't faced any real public pressure?
I think it's that, and let's also be honest. I think we actually do know what his consistent line is, which is that what he would want ideally is greater Israel, right? Now, what compromises he has to make because of reality is another thing, but I think that his principle or his ideal world would see the realization of greater Israel.
Yeah. Obviously that is what he wants.
So basically, he's just navigating the contradictions of trying to sort of, he has to deal with reality, where you have so many comprador Arab states that do exist and are not going anywhere anytime soon. He has to reconcile that reality with his principle, and that's why you see all this fucking just saying nonsense and tying himself up into knots, right? But I think we all know what his ideal is. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, I'm not in his shitty brain, but that's what I imagine. God, so, it's just terrifying.
There's the two questions that Tucker keeps kind of pushing Huckabee on, which is, what is the land and who has a right to this land? And so there's another clip I'll play real quick.
I'm sorry, if your answer's the Bible or the Torah, I just have to laugh. It's just hysterical to me. It's not a justification.
It's not serious.
It's not serious.
Are you supposed to take that seriously?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's a worldview that it's an actual worldview.
Million Jews total, and 8 million of them in the entirety of the world. There are about 16 million Jews total, and 8 million of them live here. The rest live mostly in New York or South Florida and a few other places.
Okay.
So this is a small population of people. They have connection to this land historically, biblically.
Do they?
Yes, they do.
If Bibi's family, we know they lived in Eastern Europe. There's no evidence they ever lived here. He's not religious.
But
in what sense?
How do we know that?
Do you have his family tree? No, we don't.
Do you?
He doesn't. So no one does. That's the point.
But
so how do we know that he has any connection to this land at all?
And if there has been a practice of Judaism and a connection to the language, the Bible, the land.
His ancestors didn't. He doesn't practice Judaism in any rigorous way. His ancestors didn't live here. They didn't speak the language, and there's no evidence they ever lived here. So on what basis does he have a right to be here?
Very much speaks the language. Well, he has fought for the land. His family has fought for the land.
You're dodging a very obvious question, which is, where does this right come from? And the reason it's meaningful is because there are a lot of people in the territory that Israel controls today, particularly in the West Bank, who, through genetic testing, we can know their families have been here for thousands of years. We don't know whether they practiced Judaism, whether they were Samaritans, pre-Islam. We don't know that. A lot of them we know have been Christians for 2,000 years. They have less of a right to the land than someone whose ancestors, the only thing we know about them is they lived in Latvia or Poland. They're Eastern European. How does that work?
Really going
They're Jewish.
By what definition?
They're Jewish by their
But how do we know they have any connection
they're
to
Jewish
the Jews
by their
of the,
faith. They're
of the
Jewish
Bible?
by the connection to the language. Jewish by the connection to the Torah.
But how do we know that Bibi, specifically Bibi's ancestors, ever lived here? How do we know that?
I'm not sure if I understand your question.
How do we know if the Prime Minister of Israel's ancestors ever lived?
Maybe I could ask you, how do we know they didn't? I mean,
well, it's on the basis of the claim that they did that all kinds of things happen. People are displaced. There's a money flow. I mean, it's a big question. A lot hangs on this. It's not some theoretical thing like, oh, you know, did my grandparents do this or do that? It's like, no, we have a right to be here because my ancestors were here. Okay, how do we know they were here?
Oh, we don't.
I'm totally unable to process what you're trying to get at.
Oh my God. Like, what the fuck?
Okay, I mean, you can either admit he's stupid or he's just dodging. I mean, he's probably the second.
Well, he's both because he doesn't really know how to answer these questions.
Plus, I'm sure, like, you know, I mean, of course, the whole debate on who's truly indigenous in an ethnic sense is sort of moot, right? Because they're, you know, it kind of is, right? But demographically, it's been established pretty well. And even by actually, like, the best work has been done by Israeli academics that there were pre-Israelite peoples. And then even some of the peoples who are considered Palestinian were Jewish at some point, right? And so it's pretty well established, that continuity, right? So, but it's true that for a lot of like Eastern European Jews, it's not clear like where.
Right. And it's just like your DNA doesn't give you the right to settle someone else's land.
But even if it did is kind of what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Even if it did, many people who are considered Jews in Israel today don't pass that test.
Yeah.
Right? And in fact, you have a sizable number of literal non-Jewish Russian people who just moved there and like put on a kippah and were like, I'm Jewish.
They literally will find ways to fake having Jewish ancestry in order to be able
they literally just fake that shit and they live there, right? And have a full right to they're a citizen, while, you know, people whose families have been there for thousands of years get stoned and shot by IDF and settlers, right?
But what's interesting about Israel, and I didn't actually know this until recently, was that in order to convert to Judaism, if you wanted to say, you know, you wanted to convert to Judaism and become an Israeli citizen through that path, an Orthodox rabbi has to recognize you as legitimately Jewish. So it's actually like say if you were like a liberal Reform Jew, you can. Yeah, they could say that you're not truly Jewish because you haven't been recognized that way by an Orthodox rabbi.
Because you went to the rabbi who, like,
it's not like I could just like put on a kippah and like go to Israel and say I'm Jewish now. Like, you know, I'd have to like prove it to an Orthodox rabbi that I've like genuinely converted to the religion.
Yeah, but then that's all that it requires. You can put on a kippah.
Yeah, but it's completely arbitrary.
You know,
right? Huh? Well, but it's completely arbitrary because it's up to the decision of a religious authority.
But that's what I'm saying.
Like, yeah, which means it's so silly that anyone could think that Israel is a secular state on those grounds. Like, it's just the whole that, you know, it's an ethno state where the ethnos is arbitrary whims of a religious caste.
Yeah, it is. It is like, it's weird because it is an ethno state, but on the other hand, it's very much a theocracy in that way.
Yeah,
it's very strange. I mean, there is a racial hierarchy in the country, though, and in that sense, it's strictly
definitely
state, right? Which is to say that like Eastern European Ashkenazi Jews just dominate. They dominate the society. Although I guess more and more recently, the political class has been drawing from like Mizrahim and Sephard, but
like Ben Gvir, for example, he's Kurdish.
Yeah, that's you know, but that's a pretty recent development overall. I mean, there's videos. There's videos of like, you know, like Mizrahim people being put in camps and stuff, and you know, and like you see these videos produced by the Israeli government, and it's like, look at the Eastern Jews, and you know, and it's like very like orientalizing putatively their own people.
When they first brought in the Mizrahim, to Israel. They basically put them in camps and mistreated them, and they de-Arab. It was like de-Arabization, basically. But then in like the 70s, you had the Mizrahim kind of organized, and they had like their own version of the Black Panther movement, actually.
That is so weird.
And yeah, but it became, and there was even like some elements of it that were anti-Zionist and stuff, but you know, that's all long gone, and all of
now they're the
far-right Mizrahi, like super ultra Zionist.
Now they're the craziest of the
exactly.
Aren't like beta Jews, like the Ethiopian Jews, like the oldest continuous existing Jewish groups on the planet, and they're like they like limit their immigration to Israel.
Yeah,
or at one point actually practice like forced sterilization.
Well,
they I don't know if they do as much anymore, because they are trying to bring in as many Jews as possible now.
Yeah,
grounds more and more.
They certainly have been. I mean, they also sterilized just African migrants to Israel.
Yeah,
I remember actually when I was at Columbia, we protested Danny Danon, who was the real piece of shit, but he was the ambassador of the UN for Israel, and he, you know. One of the things that we were doing to propagandize and just sort of like get people aware is like we were outside of the event hall, and you know, we were just giving quotes that Danny Danon had said about African migrants, and like I won't repeat them here. They were just like horrid. They were horrid. It was so racist. And and it was and like I think before that event, not like too long before, you know, we were trying to be, unfortunately, I don't agree with it now, but basically we're trying to like no platform Danny Danon, you know, but they had no platform to Ahmadinejad not like long before.
That's the problem with,
you know, they basically got an event where Ahmadinejad was supposed to speak. It got canceled.
I think I actually read about that.
Yeah, it's just kind of hilarious how, you know, the right wing and shit are always talking shit about cancel culture, but really
they're
only
the ones who invented it.
Yeah, they're the only ones.
I always said the left should not wield that weapon, because the right created this weapon for their purposes. It's not like a neutral tool that we can just pick up and, you know.
No. Trust me, the ultimate cancelers are Zionists, man. They'll get you.
Oh yeah, they are so totalitarian, man.
Such totalitarian. They brook no criticism or resistance. It's incredible.
Which is why Huckabee, I think, the inability to self-criticize and to see other people's perspectives has hurt Zionists.
Well, it weakens if you're not forced to actually defend your arguments ever, you know, but can just like depend on the long arm of the state, then your brain atrophies and your arguments atrophy, and you just get stuck and
they just fall into the most atavistic, like ethno, like narcissism, where it's just like nobody will ever like us, so they just have to fear us. We have to make them see that if they fuck with us, their whole family dies.
It's just
like they just become like psychotic.
They become sociopaths, basically. Yeah, it's so what are some other like greatest hits in this this disaster?
So this is Israel's goal, is to colonize as much of the biblical Holy Land as possible, and this is the ambassador to Israel saying this shit. Like,
he is really scary shit.
He's the face. He's supposed to be an American ambassador, but the whole time he just like actually he's Israel's lawyer. He doesn't even.
What's his deal again?
He was a Baptist minister. He's an evangelical Christian.
Yeah.
He had a Fox News program for years.
No, that's why he used to look so different. Now he's like,
he's got a beard now.
I guess he moved to the Middle East, and he's like, I got to grow a beard, man.
Like, he's totally like an Israeli agent. It's funny because Tucker Carlson pushes him on that quite a bit.
Yeah, at the beginning of the interview, he pushes him for meeting with Jonathan Pollard,
right?
Who is basically an Israeli spy who got busted for military secrets to the Israeli government. And Huckabee,
that guy. I was reading about that guy. That guy, he's such a liar. He was a pathological liar, and like multiple times in his. So he got like, first off, he tried to join the CIA, and the CIA was like, and so he admitted to using drugs, and the CIA is like, no go, man, you can't be doing that shit. So he went to the U.S. Naval Office. And then they like accepted him, I guess. And like immediately he just started lying to all of his superiors. And every superior he came into contact with was like, we need to fire this guy immediately. Like he's completely unreliable. We need to fire him immediately.
Wait, hold on. Actually, I'm going to play the clip of them talking about Jonathan.
Wait. Yeah, but before we do, look at this image that I found.
Oh my God.
We need to share this.
He's a rock and roller, man. He's a rock and roller. He plays that bass.
Oh my God. He's slapping the bass, bro.
Dropping a Mike Huckabee bomb on the bass.
Oh my God. Isn't it like, you know, it's kind of weird. I guess like, I guess they don't have the like whole like crazy Salafi thing that like music is the devil or whatever.
Yeah, no, I was reading Israel Shahak's book on Jewish fundamentalism in Israel, and there was like a whole controversy about like women singers, actually.
Oh wow, really?
Because I guess like in like Orthodox like Jewish like law or whatever, like amongst the Hasids, they don't think women should be allowed to sing, or you're not allowed to listen to women sing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like strict segregation.
Yeah,
they have very. And so they were lobbying the IDF to like not allow like woman singers like for like IDF like entertainment.
And the IDF is like thirst shots, you know, of our like women soldiers, or like half of our propaganda effort. Like we can't do that.
Well, they actually do. The thing is, the IDF does kind of cave in to the religious demands and stuff.
Well, now like, they are, yeah.
It's really crazy. Like, and this was like in the 90s. This was the early 90s too when this was happening.
Okay, whoever said Mahavishnu Orchestra, I love you. That's one of my favorite bands of all time.
I saw a video.
I love Mahavishnu.
Real quick, I saw a video where you know how the Orthodox have been doing protests so that they wouldn't get conscripted into the IDF.
Yeah.
So what the IDF does to like break up the protests is they send the women IDF soldiers at them because of their religious prescription or whatever. They can't come into contact with women. So all you see is like these women IDF soldiers with stick beating these fucking Orthodox, and they're just like running away.
That's society. That society is going to implode at some point.
That's the thing.
There's going to be a massive civil war between secular and non-secular.
Yeah, because like I used to think that it's like, oh, like, you know, these people, they act like they're so divided and they hate each other so much, but in the end, like they're all united around murdering Palestinians and Arabs.
They are.
That is true. But the reality is when they aren't united around that, they really are at each other's throats.
Well, it's unsustainable because the Orthodox outbreed the secular, right?
Yeah.
If you have this growing mass of people who, I mean, in the aggregate are net takers, and they also don't sign up to fight the wars that you guys want to fight, like eventually it's gonna collapse just from sheer demographic top-sidedness.
Yeah.
You know?
And secularization is not the trend in this society. You know, I mean, I think I've talked about this before. I kind of have like I mean, the sketches of a theory that there's a reason why Israel needs to become increasingly religious. It's because it's its only real social glue, given that you had to piece together a polity between so many disparate peoples. And since they have no real connection beyond some kind of vague tapestry of signs and icons and whatever, the only thing that can be promoted to promote that social cohesion is religion. It's the only thing that keeps this extremely fragmented polity together. And so, like, in a way, at least the Orthodox are like they kind of get that. It's the only thing that keeps them together. The problem is they all fucking hate each other. They all fucking hate each other.
Hold on, I'm trying to mess with the chat thing over here.
But you know, it's very interesting because people always like to sort of point at like you know, hard right Islamism as like this very particular Arab thing in the Middle East, and it's really not. It's been a tendency throughout the Middle East amongst basically all peoples, minus maybe the Kurdish. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, some of these guys make the Islamists look fucking rational in comparison. Honestly,
I mean, if you take like a kind of like, you know, I don't know, like soft Muslim Brotherhood guy, he's way chiller than some Kahanist lunatic, which is really saying, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not saying that much, but it is something.
Yeah, it's really not saying anything. They're
Like,
absolutely
because the
bad
thing
shit.
is like there is like I feel like there is like pressure on Muslims to not be extremists, whereas like
there's no
Jewish,
corresponding
you know,
pressure. Yeah,
I feel like there's more acceptance of Jewish religious extremism. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's just the truth. Like,
There's
I'm
also
not,
a lot of ignorance, right? I feel like
yeah,
a lot of, you know, people in the US, they don't know what Kahanists are. They don't know what Shabbat is. They don't know any of this, right?
yeah,
They have a very particular image that's deliberately sold to them about Israel, that it's a secular society like their own, that there's division between church and state, that it's basically just a little US in the Middle East, but they're not cognizant of like the actual ideological landscape. They don't know what it's actually like.
yeah, exactly. And honestly, I've always been against Israel, but honestly, like, it wasn't until fairly recently that I truly understood all of this stuff. To be honest. But yeah, I think the ultra orthodox ruling Israel, it's what's probably going to happen anyway.
Yeah,
But like,
the problem is that they're apeshit and millenarian.
they
You
are
know?
apeshit. That's what I was gonna say. The downside of that is a lot of people are going to die in the
They'll
process.
fucking nuke people, man. They're crazy.
Yeah, like they really do have this ideology where everybody outside of their ethnos is subhuman or not worthy of life as them.
Yeah,
And that they can be disposed of in the name of achieving their goals without any kind of regret, really.
Yeah.
There is this really there is this Hitlerite ideology against this exterminationist ideology, and you can take that with this idea of greater Israel, which according to Mike Huckabee, it's from the Nile to the Euphrates. Like,
I mean, and it's something that, like, you know, I'm always talking about, you know, Arno Mayer, but it's something that I really like about his book, you know, Why the Heavens Did Not Darken, is that he makes very clear that in the ideology of Hitlerism, the overarching objective, the most important part, is expansionism and the conquest and the colonization of Slavic lands. Like, that is sort of the beating heart of. Wait, what?
huh? What's going on here?
no, is that true?
No, that was from before. I got an indication that we got suspended. I guess it was your King Crimson thing.
It might have been, but you're allowed to do that. I looked it up.
Maybe we're being throttled, dude.
Let me look into this.
Yeah.
Check if the YouTube is still running.
Let me see if the YouTube.
It looks like it's still running on YouTube.
That's weird, man.
Don't freak us out like that, man.
Yo, I mean, but he's right. We were suspended for a minute.
Oh no.
Yeah. Anyways, that expansionism is central to Hitlerite ideology, and in a comparable way, I think that Greater Israel plays that role. You know. I know. King of all the fucking, you know, things to get suspended for, King Crimson.
Yeah.
A veritable gold mine of.
Okay, so it said I got the same message, but I re-uploaded later and it worked.
Yeah, that's really weird. Let me see if you know, on my own personal account. Yeah, it looks like it's good. Looks like it's good.
Yeah, I checked. I checked on a couple different accounts. Okay. But yeah, so what were we talking about? It was the Greater Israel and
let's maybe
militarism and the expansionism and
can we watch some more of this this interview?
Let's watch. I was talking about Jonathan Pollard because it's pretty fucking funny, actually.
Okay, that's hilarious. Yeah, do so. Yeah, I was saying that Jonathan Pollard was just a total shithead.
Despicable. I'm not defending. Jonathan Pollard did something that was terribly wrong. He sold secrets. He shouldn't have done it. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison and spent 30. Actually, I think he was sentenced to maybe more than 30 years, but he spent 30 years in prison. Most people convicted of something similar, which was one count, I believe, would have spent 2 to 4, but he spent 30. I don't have a problem with him spending 30 because I think what he did was despicable. I'm not defending anything about what he did. But even people like the former director of the CIA, a number of other senators on the Senate Foreign Relations of the Senate Intel Committee said that he should be allowed to leave and move to Israel if he wanted to.
So a bunch of other people that were also paid off and blackmailed by Israel also said that he should be allowed to get away with spying on Israel.
Yeah. This is the U.S. ambassador, by the way, right?
To me, it was not as big a deal that I had this basically courtesy meeting. He wanted to thank me for being nice to him when his wife died. That's pretty much the story.
You advocated for his release when you ran for, I remember it, in 2011, long before he had served 30 years. And I agree with you that there are a lot of people languishing in prison, in our country and in this country, in many countries, for longer periods than they deserve. And I think it's a Christian impulse to want to see them free. But this was the greatest traitor in modern American history who sold our battle plans against the Soviet Union, our main enemy in the Cold War, to the Israeli government, which according to our Reagan CIA director, Bill Casey, then gave them to the Soviet Union. So this was the most profound betrayal of the United States in my lifetime. Why advocate for that guy's release before he serves his full sentence?
If that were the case in 2011, it would have been because I had a number of friends that suggested that he had more than served time, and he didn't want to live in the U.S. anymore. He wanted to live in Israel. And but my association with him, again, I had never met him until I met him in Jerusalem at a hotel. That was the first time I had ever encountered him.
I'm friends with 1 million bad people, or I've talked to 1 million bad people.
I'm sitting here with you. I mean, come on.
Jesus ain't with tax collectors. So trust me, do not judge people who are friends or know or enjoy the company of immoral people, because it's not an endorsement of their immoral behavior. Pollard is different, I think, once you become U.S. ambassador, the representative of the President of the United States and the United States of America in a foreign country, and then you invite not only the most damaging betrayer in our lifetimes, but also a guy who continues to advocate for betrayal. So he gave an interview, as I know you know, in 2021 to Israeli media, in which he said, I would encourage Jewish Americans with security clearances to spy for Mossad against their own country, the United States, because, and I'm pretty much quoting him, all Jews should have dual loyalty.
Oh my God, I can't believe he said that.
That's not repentance. That's not someone who feels bad about what he did. That's someone who's encouraging American Jews to betray their country. That's pretty heavy, don't you think?
Oh, I do. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I think, let's remember, it was President Trump who probably facilitated his departure. I'm certainly supportive.
Bro,
President
could
Trump,
you guys
I think
imagine?
Oh my God, it's so tricky.
Could you imagine, like, God damn, dude.
That, of course he did. And he paid dearly for it, 30 years in prison, and he should have. That's what he should have done. There's no question about that.
But why meet with him in the U.S. Embassy? Your colleagues said they were shocked. They said...
Who were the colleagues that said they were shocked?
Quoted on background in the New York Times. I think the meeting was in August. This could all be fake. That's why I'm asking you.
Well, the same New York Times said it was a secret meeting. And I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a secret meeting in the U.S. Embassy.
Do you see why the U.S. ambassador hosting a convicted betrayer of his own country who's encouraging Americans to continue to betray their country would seem shocking?
Well, I would say that it wasn't that you make it sound like I'm hosting a meeting. I simply met with him. I meet with people all the time.
Some can just walk in without a...
No, they have to have an appointment. Of course they do.
Oh, so it is hosting him then, I think.
Well, I don't know if it was hosting, but it was certainly, he was able to come to the U.S. Embassy to have a meeting at his request.
I know.
I did. And frankly, I don't regret it.
Oh my God. He's like, oh, so you were hosting him, dude. And I love how like him being a total smartass, just like goes just past Huckabee's head, just doesn't even calculate it. Unbelievable. Yeah,
I know.
what a despicable bootlicking. I mean, God, just an absurdity.
So yeah, I think Rob Ashlar is going to be joining us in a second here.
Middle Eastern correspondent.
Yep. So, but yeah, that's just absolutely insane.
Yeah, just dog shit.
Hey, how's it going, Rob?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah. Welcome to our Middle Eastern correspondent. And
oh yeah, I'm broadcasting from what's the biggest Middle Eastern base, like U.S. base in the Middle East? Al Udeid.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
yeah, I'm broadcasting from wherever that is. Anyway, did I miss the discussion about Masha's piece, or are we about to get to that?
Yeah, we'll get to that. We were talking about.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
We were talking about Tucker Carlson's just talking to that moron Huckabee.
Oh yeah, that is one of the most I don't know. This year has been a pretty good output for bizarre interviews.
Oh yeah, it's been great. I mean, to be honest, Tucker Carlson somehow seems to interview all the right people in a given moment, right?
I mean, because he's a CIA asset, so they know how to get him in the room with interesting people. And
yeah, absolutely.
He has the same skill as Isaac Chotiner of asking follow-up questions. What do you mean by that? And could you explain?
Yeah.
He does not let up on Huckabee, man. He just keeps cooking him. He's like, so what do you mean by what is the land of Israel? You haven't answered that question yet. What are the official borders? Can you tell me what the borders are? And he finally gets them to basically just say that they can take it all in the Bible.
Which I've been trying to figure out what Tucker's whole angle is. I don't think it's just I don't think it's pure curiosity. Because he's definitely not. That's not him, you know.
Yeah.
My interpretation of this, and I think you guys maybe even discussed this on a previous stream, is that I think Tucker represents a wing of the American deep state that is trying to course correct.
Yes.
And they see how totally insane Israel and Zionism is as for destabilizing American imperialism, and they want to essentially be all right, we got to stop this. This isn't our mess anymore. We're gonna focus on rebuilding America and doing smart, Arabist imperialism, like what probably Bush Senior wanted to do, or maybe not Bush Senior, Bush's grandfather.
Right.
So I think that's Tucker's angle, and then Chris Van Hollen is I think the left wing mirror of this, which is essentially the same course correction instinct, but from a not psycho Christian angle of we need to do welfare reform, we need to not persecute migrants, we need to create a multiracial social democratic empire.
Yeah.
And I think the net product of what this will be this is totally, I could be completely fucking wrong about this, but I think long term the far right project will collapse and Tucker will inherit it, and it'll turn into Christian democracy. And we saw this with Europe in the 20th century, where fascism, it's durable product was this Christian democracy in Germany and Italy, and even sort of in Chile. And then on the left we'll have an actual Labor Party. But this is again just pure speculation on my part.
Well, the Christian Democrats actually in a place like Italy, a good chunk of them did oppose fascism, from what I recall. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they did actually. If I'm Donald, I think we read about this in the.
I mean, it was
the church. The church itself as an institution. A lot of the higher ups capitulated to and made deals with him. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But post-war, I think a good chunk of Christian democracy was actually chosen by the CIA, et cetera, because it wasn't fully penetrated by the fascists. It didn't, you know, post-war, the fascists in Italy really had lost their credibility. Like it was a major, like just like the communists really benefited from being considered the partisans. Anyone who was associated with the fascists got like ate shit after the war. That changed with time. So that was one of the reasons I think that in a place like Italy, the CIA was wanted to support some of the Christian Democrats, is because they weren't seen as totally like tainted by the association with fascism. Anyways, that's a total aside, but
yeah,
I don't know if I don't know if Tucker Carlson is Christian Democrat. I don't know if that's the proper characterization. I think it's more I think it's less Democrat and Christian than
yeah. I mean, like, I'm using a Christian democracy in like a very wide sense, because he also has, like, I mean, previously, before all of this, like, his whole thing was like a right-wing social democracy of like, oh, we need to like talk about healthcare, and he's even openly mentioned that he reads Jacobin.
Yeah.
So like,
he has this like kind of Christopher Lash, like kind of communitarian type thing.
Yeah, it's a very like, I don't know. I think I don't think he's a normie right winger, like even behind closed doors. Like, I actually do think he represents like a new strain of right wing thought in America.
Yeah.
Maybe
it's kind of, economically, I think it's very much a return to military Keynesianism of Eisenhower. You know what I'm saying? It's
I mean,
there needs to be more.
That's they openly.
And I think in that sense, it's just about more. It's about having the state having greater authority in putting guardrails on capital. Because at this point in America, we live in this anarcho-capitalism where capital completely dictates and captures all aspects of the state and social life. And I think that people like Tucker Carlson realize that in the balance of class forces, this is not sustainable. It's the myopia of capital is going to destroy the U.S. So
it's definitely like a rationalizing project. I don't think it's motivated by, or entirely motivated at least, by like sincere concern for normal people.
Yeah, I think it's just the capital's too destabilizing and it needs to be checked.
Yeah, no, it's a counter movement to the destabilizing aspects of capitalism.
Which like at this point in the U.S., like shit is getting insane because capital, like the various capitals, have just infiltrated every aspect of life and are just, I mean, you really just cannot. It's an unbelievable the anarchy that's being produced in this country. Nothing works. Like Candace Owens is a whole nother creature.
Yeah, but they're both it's a thing. Like it's whenever Tucker's always very like his concerns are like defending, Palestinian Christians in specific. He always kind of brings them up, especially in the Huckabee interview. And stopping war with Iran. That's what he says are like his two biggest concerns. But I think for him, like, he genuinely does want some kind of like Christian paternalistic, almost theocratic state. And he does believe in the Great Replacement and stuff like that. He is a white nationalist, and I
he definitely. You're right. He's kind of played more the Christian note recently. But in the past, he definitely played more the white nationalist angle.
I think the Christian thing may actually just be like a recognition that the white nationalist project just isn't feasible. Like on the one hand, of just like sheer practicality, like how are you going to do that in a country like America? You just can't, like, unless like short of just nuking big parts of this country. And then also like the political cost of it. Like we're seeing it now. Like you doing this shit will enrage normie Americans, like a lot of normal people who otherwise aren't really that plugged into politics. So it's like, okay, this is not feasible. But like his logic, my interpretation is like, oh, maybe we can do this sort of like right-wing Christian stuff. And I actually do believe has a real constituency. Like my sister, for instance, who is like a pretty like well-off yuppie, not like a right-wing freak, but she is like, I'd say like a right-wing liberal. And she like years ago, like, I don't know, maybe it was 2015, 2016, was like, if Christian democracy existed in this country, I would totally vote for it. Like, I'm socially conservative and I want welfare. So like, and that is like, I think that speaks to a lot of people in this country.
I mean, that's like, the unholy fusion in American conservatism is like very. It's the fusion between kind of like Protestantism and worship of the free market. It's contradictory. It can't that unholy alliance can't continue forever. Precisely because capital respects nothing.
Yeah, it's just too, like you can't you can't even be like a somewhat consistent like Christian or religious person in general and be like, yeah, well, what's going on in America right now is totally what God approves. Like this rampant proliferation of gambling. I mean, I'm not even like a very religious person at all, but like the Kalshi polymarketification of this country is so profane. It feels like obscene on a purely spiritual level.
It's horrible. Yeah, it's really horrible.
It's like, what the fuck is going on? I want like a decent society.
So let's go. Maybe we can get to the.
Is that your alarm, Joseph?
Yeah, it's me.
There's a snowstorm hitting you, dude.
I know. How do I get it to stop?
It's the apocalypse, bro.
Bro, you're talking too much about Israel. They're coming for you. What was I going to say? Let's maybe talk about the article, the Weekly Worker article.
Yeah. So let's get into aircraft carrier Zionist parastate or whatever.
Yeah.
So
we're on part 4 or 5 of this debate.
Yeah, this debate is never going to end until Israel itself ends, and then there will be a historiographical debate. But
yeah.
So yeah.
Should we pull up this thing on the screen? How do you do that?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up in a second. Okay. I think, Rob, you agree with me that war with Iran is like imminent and is like a question of when, not if, right?
Sorry, what was that?
Would you agree with me that like war with Iran is like practically imminent?
Oh, 100%. I mean, just look at what's been deployed. Like this shit, the only parallels I think are 2003 Iraq War and 1991 Gulf War.
Yeah.
Like you don't, and I think like, so a friend of mine on Twitter, his handle is OG_HOPOOE. Really sharp guy. Basically, he had this like very nice short thread, essentially like unpacking the differences between gunboat diplomacy and war, and there is no difference in practice because like gunboat diplomacy is premised on the threat of like actually going to war, so the preparations don't look any different. Like, you're just going to assemble a shitload of weaponry to make it look like you're going to go to war, and if the other party doesn't agree to what you want, then you go to war and go do it. So yeah, like as far as like what's happening next, the conditions that they're trying to get out of Iran are just totally ridiculous. Like missiles, cutting support to what remains of the AOR, like that's just not happening. That's a basic fucking self-defense issue for Iran. They can negotiate the nuclear ship, but not that.
Right. And so like it's very clear to me that like this is a war that is being instigated by Israel and that they are the prime mover here. This is like obviously like Zionists are very powerful in Trump's administration, but it's Netanyahu. This is Netanyahu.
Yeah, and like Trump himself is to a large extent a creature of Israel. Like that's what the fucking Epstein thing. Even they like those files are saying, oh yeah, like Trump may just be outright compromised by Israel. Like this is like it's going well beyond like a national like Machaver. We now can like pivot to the piece itself. Like Machaver's whole thing is like national interest and stuff, and how Israel serves specifically American national interests. But like that kind of that distinction doesn't really make sense. And I think we could probably just like go from like top to bottom here.
Yeah. Let me zoom in a little bit.
Okay.
It's I have a huge respect for Machover. It's generally
of course. This is all with much respect to Machover.
But I do have to say that I find the many pieces he writes, they're incredibly sharp. This one is very weak.
It's an unusually bad miss from him.
Yes, it is.
Oh, he's old. He's clinging to old dogmas.
Yeah, I mean, this is Israel like that he recognizes from like his time.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, could just be a mistake of analysis. I don't want to say that he's not open to other things. Just sometimes you're wrong, and it's
Yeah.
deeper reason than
I mean, it just seems to me that very specifically he's pushing back against the Mearsheimer thesis.
Yeah,
that's a very good point. Which, yes, I mean, in that sense, if that's his foil, then yeah, one has to understand that he's responding to that. But yeah, let's get into it. Maybe we can.
Yeah. Well, the Mearsheimer thesis is a good thing to respond to because it is a powerful argument.
It was like the best that we had until like the latest like development of this broader argument. Because I don't even think the aircraft thing is unchanged. I just use that as like the archetype in my piece. But anyway, let's jump in.
What is the basis for the relationship between USA and Israel? It's a lively debate. And so yeah, he's responding to Mearsheimer and Walt. And they argue that it's the pro-Israel lobby, AIPAC, as we all know. And he mentions Ian Donovan, who kind of has this theory that there's like a faction of Jewish Zionist capitalists who are disproportionately powerful, and he kind of criticizes that theory.
Like this is a good place to unpack it. Because Mahaver, he just sort of dismisses this, like with his example of Sheldon Adelson, major capitalist in support of Israel.
Right.
Like, did he have any investments in Israel? Yes, he did. Israel Hayom. But this is done as political contribution. He had no material stake in Israel, but was a Las Vegas gambling magnate. Like I just don't see why dismiss like, oh, this is a political contribution? Why? That seems like a pretty big deal to hone in on.
There's a literal Sheldon Adelson has stated basically openly that the most important cause for him is Israel. And Sheldon Adelson's influence in the Republican Party is basically unmatched, actually. Yeah. There's something called the Sheldon Adelson primary, where like all these Republican like would-be's and whatever congregate to one of his casinos and basically beg him for money. It's literally called the Sheldon Adelson primary, because if you get the approval from him, you will go a long way to becoming the GOP candidate and potentially the president.
So, yeah, and that's Trump today. Trump today is a product of Sheldon Adelson. And he's like, the fact that he was making the fact he doesn't just have investments, and I think it's like the fact that he was making political contributions rather than just like
that makes it even more potent, because
that makes it more important because it shows that there's like this ideological
something I keep repeating over and over again. Ideology is a material force and it has its own dynamics, and you can't just ignore it, right?
Yeah.
It's not so simple as Sheldon Adelson likes Israel because he has money there. It's not that simple. He has his identity wrapped up in the place.
Like
sense of purpose in the world.
Like Mahaver himself is saying that Adelson is putting money into Israel because he likes Israel. Like it's a reversal of like what his broader argument is, which is like, oh, he cares about Israel because he has money. And I'm like, no, it's the other way around. And like Adelson is very representative of, or maybe not representative, he's like a kind of a caricature of like a broader tendency in American capital and like Western capital more broadly. Like there are these highly ideological Zionist capitalists who are also deeply tied up in Israeli capital, and a lot of this stuff is in the defense industry, which is wrapped up with tech, Silicon Valley, and then like the most pernicious and predatory elements of finance. Like that's like the whole fucking VC, arms tech, and then like tech in general nexus is. Like fucking that freak Sean Maguire from Sequoia Capital. He is that. Like he's married into a really wealthy Persian Jewish Zionist family from LA, who are like really fucking fanatical from what I've heard. He himself is almost certainly an Israeli spy because he's. I think Maguire. We can actually look at this is a really good like case study. Maguire has a lot of just DoD connections in general. He's always been like really big in the defense war industrial complex. But then if you look at his counterparts in Sequoia, they are not as vocal and like publicly obnoxious as he is. The previous like one of the previous chiefs at Sequoia is this guy Roelof Botha, and if that name sounds familiar, it's a major apartheid Afrikaner family, like the Botha family. So
Okay.
he's not some like nobody right winger. Like this is someone from like a pedigree of reaction, and even he couldn't talk this freely. Like there were a couple incidents where Maguire was like particularly embarrassing to the Sequoia brand, and Roelof Botha would like tweet these cryptic posts, seemingly indicating his displeasure. And James Rosenberg on Twitter, like he was the one to point this out. Like it's bizarre that someone like Botha feels the need to like kind of self-censor. So that would suggest that Maguire has some like bigger protection beyond the firm. And that where would that protection be? It'd probably be some kind of intelligence. So like, and all of that, like that goes well beyond like, oh, they're just materially invested in Israel, so they like it. Like there's a whole fucking nexus here that is operating on a completely different level, that operates above even people in the same sphere. Like within the same firm, you have differences between like an apartheid family and a Zionist family. Clearly, like one has more power, even though both are like seemingly equivalent in how reactionary they are. And like Machaver, I don't know how, he just completely misses this.
Well, because the fundamental unit here of his analysis is the nation state, right? And in that ways, like that conceptual apparatus, like you have to think more in terms of class fractions, and like something that you bring in, which is like parastates, right? Like how various class fractions of different nationalities can sort of operate together in a sort of in an ideological project, which is also tied up with the material project.
Right?
A project of accumulation, of speculation, et cetera, et cetera. So it's more complicated than just there's this nation state, there's a set of capitalists. The capitalists use the nation state in order to realize their interests. It's not that simple.
And I also think like Machaver is like, he doesn't mention this, but I think like he makes a common mistake of a lot of Marxists, which is a sort of reluctance to engage in any sort of conspiracy-esque thought. Because like the whole, like, I mean, the parastate thesis, like, it is just like I'm describing a conspiracy. Like that's what the term Zog is. Like it's like it originates as like a neo-Nazi conspiracy. Like, I mean, the neo-Nazis are wrong, but there is factually a conspiracy.
Yes, the Zionism itself is a conspiracy if you think about it. Like it's
like,
well, I mean, you know, it's more like a method. Like conspiracy is just like a method for exercising power, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And like, so it's sort of like the problem is not so much, you know, admitting that conspiracy is important in history so much as there's something called conspiratorial thinking, which can have, you know, pathological aspects and can lead people down the rabbit hole, right? So I think it's kind of like, I think that's sort of, you know, when people get tripped up, right? When you use the term conspiracy, it just has a meaning. It's a method of exercising power, right?
Yeah, no war if Iran brings up. So Trump has gone in with that Kabod sect along with the lick nuts, like the lick nuts. What about the anti-Semitism Reich minister? And you know, I thought it is funny as you bring up conspiracy. There is actually a conspiracy theory I found that Trump secretly converted to Judaism and is like part of Kabod now.
The guy is so irreligious. I don't know.
I know. It's obviously not true because to convert, you have to do it publicly and stuff. And Kabod let him like secretly convert. Like I know enough about Kabod to know that that's ridiculous. But it's just like he is in deep with these Kabod guys. And if you look at Kabod, it is one of the ways that a lot of these Zionist Mossad operatives network. And Trump is all over it. So there's clearly some kind of institutional overlap between the Israeli ruling class and the U.S. ruling class.
And I think like this is, we can get like return to the piece. Like, you know, Machaver says, you know, the like what part of capital actually has influence on U.S. policy, and it's the military-industrial complex and incites Eisenhower, et cetera, et cetera. And again, like this is the grain of truth here is that like this is part of the parastate. Like I wrote this a bit further at length in the second part of the piece, where like this is a key component of it. Like, this is like how it keeps functioning and reproduces itself, because all these, you know, arms manufacturers, they like that Israel buys their weapons. It likes that they can test out their new shit on Palestinians. But again, the problem is, like, arms manufacturers are the part of their infamy, or in fact, most of their infamy, is that they don't have any loyalties to any country. They'll just sell guns to whoever's buying it. Like, that was like why, that was a big reason they were really detested in World War I, because you had the same, like, you had Krupp selling weapons to Germany and then also to England. And it's like, who the fuck are you working for? That's not the case here. Like, Israel vetoes arms sales to other countries. And like, why? Like, it's only because of like Trump's just like kind of bizarre independence of will that's like ephemeral that Saudi Arabia and Turkey were able to get F-35s. That had been stonewalled for ages by Israel. And it's like, what arms manufacturer would be okay with it? Like, I can't. I have to sell my shit to this one country instead of all these other places that want to buy it and that are all totally aligned with the NATO project. Like, it's not as if suddenly, like, Saudi and Turkey are going to oppose America. Like, they're integral parts of American imperialism, and yet they couldn't get on this gravy train. Why? Like, it's a purely fucking it's purely the Zionist fraction of the American imperialist establishment.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, this is a very weak. I'm really kind of shocked.
He cites like Washington Institute.
Go down further.
Israel provides important services. It's the largest, and I know the classic, American aircraft carrier, blah blah blah. I mean, I don't know, like, what kind of fucking, like, if we take this metaphor literally, like, what kind of aircraft carrier requires this much constant babying? The whole point of it is that's like a super fucking effective thing that, like, although it needs a lot of support, but the support is like meant for, a broader objective that the Navy sets. You're not like, you're not fucking organizing the whole Navy around this one aircraft carrier. I don't know. It's just like the metaphor has become like too, because it is very poetic, but like because of that, it's like people are way too compelled by it. Like, you need to sort of move past that.
It's the unsinkable aircraft carrier, and it's unsinkable. So it's, well, maybe it's something else then.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the other kind of argument from this Blackwell and Slocum report, which is in a political context, and it's important to note that Israel, unlike other Middle Eastern countries whose governments are partners with the United States, is already a stable democracy, which will not be swept aside in a sudden uprising or explosive revolution. In fact, that may become important in the turbulent period ahead. But is Israel really so stable? Because as we were just saying earlier, when they're not like united around murdering Palestinians and Arabs and everyone else they can, like, they are at each other's throats over religious.
They hate each other so much. I've never seen a population hate each other so much.
It's so, and I think like this argument had more staying power, like until even, I'd say, 5 years ago. Like, I think at that point it would have been like, all right, yeah, like this, because there are like Israel's just Americans, like they love Trump over there because he's their best president. But, like, obviously not our president. And so, but still, it's like, this is like, okay, sure, but on the other hand, like he for instance cites the 1979 revolution, but that was fucking 50 years ago. This is not the same Middle East. Like, everyone there is like broken down, or they just love America. There's no fucking like challenge anymore. Even if we want to like be as broad as possible with the challenge, like the insurgency in the 2000s, that's gone. Like, the fucking psycho jihadists, they're gone. So America doesn't have to worry about them anymore. Like, there's nothing. Like, everybody in the region wants to be pro-America. Even after all this, by some magic spell, there's a free Palestine, I think even Hamas would be pro-America because they need the money. They need American investment to rebuild their country and like actually have it be normal. Like, by virtue of America's hegemonic position, the world, you just can't, unless you're super ideological, you just can't go sicko mode. You have to play ball. And that was the lesson that was painfully learned over and over again. So there's no more challengers. Like, I just don't see the utility, the special utility in Israel versus like all these other countries.
Right. Well, the initial strategy of the U.S. for the Middle East after World War II is hegemon balancing, where you kind of just support every different power and try to balance them off of each other, prevent no one power from becoming the regional hegemon. And I mean, it's obviously a strategy that can lead to very irrational and violent results when put into practice, but it is a rational strategy. Whereas going all in on Greater Israel and this Mike Huckabee's vision that we hear in this interview, it's just absolutely insane. And there's no way you can believe that like this is somehow like a rational strategy for empire building unless you are like ideologically committed to it somehow.
Yeah, and I mean, again, we can also tie in the new feud between the UAE, which I guess is the same thing, and Saudi Arabia. Like,
right.
Like the essence of like that began because that was kicked off because the UAE's vassal or puppet state in Yemen, the Southern Transitional Council, they did this big sweep. They kicked out the PLC, which is the Saudi-backed entity in Yemen, and they declared a republic or some shit of South Arabia, which is just the old South Yemeni borders. Then Riyadh, like MBS, gets super mad, and he just pushed their shit in. He fucking bombed a ton of Emirati weapons shipments, special units, and then said, like, issued an ultimatum saying all Emirati presence needs to end in Yemen, or we will escalate our operations. And the Emiratis were spooked, and they withdrew. And the entire STC Emirati project in Yemen fell apart. And that's what set off this big stage. And like now, Saudi Arabia has been really pushing back on Emirati influence in Somalia first, where they canceled a bunch of investments. Then in Pakistan, where like the operation of the airport in Islamabad, it used to be an Emirati company, now it's a Saudi company. I think, or at the very least, the Emirati presence was like ejected. Then recently in Algeria, a bunch of and Emirati airlines were shut down. Those were suspended. Clearly, like all Saudi moves, and all the analysis from FT, Amlaj, they agree that there's no patching up this rift. But like, what is the essence of it? It's essentially like the Emirati product as like a neo-Venetian or like a neo, like an Italian merchant empire, is that they want to break up the whole region because it's easier to control these tiny like fiefdoms ruled by warlords, and then like just suck out the blood from everything else. That's what they're doing, and that's what their flagship product is Sudan, the RSF.
Absolutely.
But the problem, and that's also the same project as Israel, because by fragmenting states and balkanizing them, it makes them easier for conquest of a broader settler colonial empire. So this mercantile empire and the settler colonial empire, in this sense, like kind of isomorphic in their relationship to their neighbor, to their regions. But this is totally in violation of the nation state system as it's existed since like the fucking 1500s. You can't tolerate separatism because that then implicitly threatens your own borders. And like we saw this like throughout the Cold War, where I think even the U.S. was often really suspicious of separatist movements because they're like, we're not fucking with this.
Yeah.
Like with Biafra, for instance, I think, hold on, let's see the Biafra War. I don't think the U.S. supported Biafra in that, although naturally Israel and South Africa and Rhodesia did. Who was on this side? That's not showing. Anyway, but basically, like, the point is that the separatism and balkanization project is not like it can only be a tactic for a big globe-spanning empire, not the actual end-all be-all. And we can see this again with the American project in Syria. Clearly, fragmentation was a tactic in weakening the Assad regime and the Axis more broadly in Syria. But once that was over, they've been super supportive of Giuliani unifying the country under his authority and having him do it at like basically any cost. Like they didn't give a shit about the Alawite massacres because they're like, all right, this is just establishing state control on the coast. They didn't care really that much about the massacres in Sueda of the Druze. They're like, yeah, again, this is not our problem. And again, likewise with the recent skirmishes and issues with the SDF and like the Kurds. The U.S., although it's displeased, I think it's been most displeased about the Kurdish stuff because like a ton of IS prisoners escaped. But like, it's pretty revealing of like what their concern is. It isn't like victimization of minorities or potential victimization. It's the fact that like this is destabilizing Syria.
Exactly. Well, it's the Ali Qadri thesis that basically the U.S. just wants pure destabilization and chaos in the Middle East and has no interest in any kind of stability or equilibrium, which I don't think we've talked about this before, but it just seems like that's clearly not true.
Yeah, it's a very like it's really being challenged by recent events, or maybe not challenged. I think he's right, but he misidentified where it's emanating from. It's emanating from Tel Aviv. It's not directly emanating from Washington, or at least like, how do I put this? It's coming from Washington, but because of the influence.
Tel Aviv is in Washington.
Yeah, like we just have and like we were talking about this the other day. My opinion increasingly is that what America wants in the Middle East is centralized, tyrannical, but still weak states. So that it wants them centralized and tyrannical, obviously, so they can control the population, so that they don't get, any funny ideas. But it doesn't want them broken up and totally weak, because otherwise, like the U.S. will have to just clean up their mess all the time, which they don't want to do.
Right.
They don't want to be fighting all these different rebels all the time. So yeah, like I think that's those are the splits within like a grand imperial project and like a specifically settler colonial project, and like aside the kind of related mercantile empire project, which is not present here in like none of that is present in Mahavir's piece. It's totally limited by this nation state framework that you mentioned, Jamil.
Right. So yeah, we talked about this argument. So there's this reference to the Iranian Revolution.
Yeah.
You have, and this is all true. Like, the U.S. military-industrial complex does work with Israel, and there's the technology. The arms dealers do get benefits, but like you said, like, why limit themselves to just working with Israel when there's other NATO allies that they could be selling way more to, if not for Israel's fear of arms parity? So, like, even if you want to say, well, okay, well, clearly this is all benefiting these people, there's other strategies of imperial domination that are being foreclosed because of how much inertia this relationship with Israel has, that is basically locked in.
Yeah. And then you mentioned like a bunch of technological gizmos, like all this stuff, of course, is it's true, but like
it doesn't explain why the U.S. chooses this strategy over other strategies.
Yeah, it's like why does this strategy reproduce itself? But that's not really. It's kind of circular,
So, yeah. There's
then he gets to dialectics, blah blah blah.
I love how he was like, he did the typical like Marxist thing, like, now everyone else has not been totally wrong, but they've not been sufficiently materialist.
Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, back in the 1980s, the two states were sharing and cross-pollinating their defense research. I mean, yeah, it's all very true, and it's just very terrifying stuff what these people are working on, and the level of technological gadgetry that they're putting all of this investment into this fucking bullshit that doesn't benefit humanity at all.
Wait, can I see the technical list? I forgot again.
Take commanders with small screen maps that show where their adversaries are moving. Jet pilots who fire computer-guided bombs. Ships. It's a bunch of stupid bullshit that the world doesn't need. And
then in that list, it's just Skynet.
Yeah, Sky. Oh, that is where they're taking us.
There was even this, the argument about Israeli innovation in military stuff. There was actually a really good piece in Jewish Currents a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a couple of months ago at this point. But essentially, it's if you look at how the genocide has been prosecuted in Gaza, it's been pretty low tech. They've just been throwing bombs every day, which is not really precise, and that's kind of the point. It's meant to destroy all human life, whereas precision stuff is the sales pitch. At least this is it's clearly nonsense, but the image is that we will minimize collateral damage, and I think there's one weapon in particular that the U.S. is now uses quite regularly in counter terrorism operations. Is this fucking rocket, which is just a giant blade, and it doesn't blow up that big.
You mean the shrapnel one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just cuts a person or in half or a couple pieces, but there's no big boom.
It's basically just shoots out a bunch of just shrapnel.
Yeah, so that's meant to be the most precise that they get, and that's not being used by Israel ever, because they don't. The whole point is causing as much destruction as possible. So even from this perspective, it's I'm not really seeing the innovation. It's just different innovations of how to end human life.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure weapons companies make money off this stuff, but in the end, there's other ways for them to do that.
The piece is really. I don't know. It just doesn't cover enough at all. It's just so insufficient.
So
yeah, really weak. It's too bad because
the Muse military-industrial complex felt the Israeli lobby in the U.S. is against American interests. It was surely counteracted. But are we sure of that? Are we really so sure of that? Is it really? Is the military-industrial complex
First off, one has to be very clear what the military-industrial complex is.
Yes.
Because to talk about it as one thing, once again, is, I think, not very helpful. It is a system of competing private contractors or mega firms, and they are constantly in war with one another to basically just fleece the U.S. state of tax revenue.
They're competing for government dollars.
Yeah, and they're a complete parasite on the state. They just fleece the state. It's unbelievable the amount of money that these firms just steal from the public. It's crazy.
I think a concept from Altair that actually is kind of relevant is overdetermination, where there may be somewhere some contractors who aren't too big on Israel, but all the big ones with the ideology and the clout are Zionists. So that overdetermines how the military-industrial complex functions, and that's also a downstream from the formation of the Zionist parastate. That wasn't a thing. Again, people this is the other thing. He cites Eisenhower, but when Eisenhower talked about the military-industrial complex, America wasn't that fucking gung ho about Israel. There was still there was a pretty solid Arabist lobby in American politics because they were in with Arab oil money.
Right. I mean, that was hegemon balancing was really the strategy in Eisenhower's era.
So at that time, Israel was tight with France, and their the basis of their alliance was anti-Arabism, which America hadn't seen the utility of that yet because they were trying to maybe make their own alliance with the Arab world. So again, there's just so many issues with this piece. It's so.
Well, it's also if the military-industrial complex, if it becomes more and more invested in Israel, that means that it becomes more and more. There's a distinction between the two, also kind of.
Yeah, it's just inertia.
Yeah, exactly. It's the inertia is a very important part of this question, I think.
I think those are all the points that I had for this piece.
So yeah, I mean, he does say which is there's no such thing as monolithic interest or one simple American interest. There are conflicting interests that have to be balanced. Which, I mean, I guess that's true. So, but I think maybe the way to answer to this would be, okay, like when we're talking about like American interests in this debate, like we're basically talking about like different strategies of imperial domination. And the question is the U.S. strategy for imperial domination in relation to Israel, like is the U.S. doing this because it feels like this is the most rational strategy to reproduce itself as the hegemon of global capitalism? Or are there other reasons that we should be looking at?
Yeah, I mean,
again, like clearly not best served by this. I think this is, and like I guess we can like maybe like get into the debate of like real interests, like the realist school in general, because like this is like Mahaver is implicitly responding to that, and that's what a lot of people are kind of hostile to. Like what I've noticed, like this. Like this questioning of realism as a form of political thought, realism and neo-realism. I mean, for me, I think like, I mean, like the section of like the subtitle of like dialectics, I just chuckled at that. Like this is silly. Like real like strategic interest. Like I just find that just sort of like eminently clear as a concept. But I don't know. Like, what do you guys think?
I think the other thing is like it's the debate is not always clear. Also, like what are we debating, which kind of frustrates me. For me, kind of I think that the question of what benefits America versus what agents in the state do with the intention of benefiting America are two very different things. And I think that the second one actually kind of doesn't matter as much. And what matters more is what's happening and how it is affecting America's power. And maybe you can argue that in some ways it's expanded American power by allowing America to just more nakedly exercise military dominion. But I think that it's also very clear that diplomatically it's isolating America. And it's not at all obvious that just, scrapping the post-World War II liberal order is a good thing for the US, because it's also a diplomatic order that's tied up with the financial system. Mm-hmm. And the financial system is very much the beating heart of American power. So I just don't really, if I were a US imperialist and I actually had anything like power, I would be very disturbed about what's happening right now. And I would see the hit on US credibility and its diplomatic isolation as potentially threatening its financial hegemony, and therefore it's the true source of its power. Yeah. So, that if I were in the driver's seat, so to speak, if I were a piece of shit capitalist or a piece of shit, imperialist in the State Department, I would very much want to get Israel under check. I would very much want to make sure that Israel is our puppet. Is it fine?
I'd be deploying Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, no, to be honest, like I would definitely be pumping up elements like him. So, I think that kind of just to summarize my whole spiel, like I think the whole question of like what U.S. actors are doing and what they're doing with the intention of maximizing American power is kind of secondary to like what's happening and how it's affecting U.S. Power. And I think that the diplomatic isolation is threatening America's position, or the U.S.'s position as global hegemon. I mean, there has been. Do you guys remember what it was like the world reaction to the Iraq War and the moment of diplomatic isolation that the U.S. suffered?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, it's like that, but like times 10. Somehow. And maybe not. I don't know. I was hardly conscious at that point, to be honest. Like, I was very, very young when that happened. But yeah, I mean, I'm convinced that the U.S. has just shredded its anything left. Like, Obama did a lot of good for American empire, for U.S. empire.
For sure. But I would interject. Like, there is this. like I was like mulling this over earlier today. Like the U.S. is in a similar position in the '70s, where there was a really like rising challenges. It like ripped up a lot of its credibility in Vietnam. But then like the function of the Reaganite counter-revolution was just to destroy all resistance, no matter the cost, to American soft power. And it won. They actually did succeed. And I think the rational kernel or rational core animating Zog or the Zionist parastate is that if we can just kill everyone who opposes us, then we can prolong our empire. Because it's clear that although there are meaningful losses in diplomatic power and soft power, etc., Russia can't do shit. They're bogged down in Ukraine. And China won't do shit because they're so intimately wrapped up in the global financial system.
But I do think I would say to kind of, I think that one of the big things about the Reagan moment was that at that point there was no real challenge to the global hegemony of the U.S. The USSR had run out of steam.
I mean, in the 80s, yes, but like I'd say in the late 70s, they were still, because of like the global socialist movement, like they were winning in Southern Africa. Like they were really seriously challenging South Africa, in Angola, in Mozambique, in Namibia. Like there was like still an ongoing global socialist revolution, although maybe not as fast as one would have liked. But there was the victory in Vietnam, of course.
Much more robust opposition, let's say, globally. But overall, there was no challenge, and here's the key word, to the hegemony of the U.S. I think that the distinction or the difference today is that the Chinese model is a real challenge to U.S. hegemony. I mean, on a number of metrics already, the Chinese have won the economic war. And I think that the U.S. ruling class is highly cognizant of that. And if I were, once again, in the driver's seat, if I were an imperialist, I would be telling myself, we need to hang on to the post-World War II legal structure, the Bretton Woods structure, so that we can bash the Chinese with it, so that we can at least try to win the ideological war. It's going to be key. Like, we need to keep Europe on our side. We need to try to pull more South American countries on our side. We need to make sure that Africa doesn't fall under the gamut of China. And so, I would be really shit, we got to keep the diplomatic structure intact. We got to keep the financial system in place. Insofar as we have those two things, the Chinese can't easily win global hegemony, and this genocide is just the genocide that the US is supporting. It's just shredding that. It's just shredding the liberal post-World War II order. In ways that are irreparable. They're shredding it. They're fucking themselves.
I think that if this Iran war, or I guess when this Iran war happens, the question then is, how does the war go? Does Iran just get crushed like Iraq in 2003? Or do they actually hang on and really impose terrible costs on the U.S.? Because if that happens, if there is a true, I've been saying this for almost 2 years now. If there is a true regional war and it goes on even for a couple months, but it blocks the Strait of Hormuz, it inflicts real systematic damage to Israeli civilian society, it fucks up American forces in the region, like bases, troops, maybe even sinks a ship or two, that I think will be an irreparable defeat for the U.S. I don't think there's any going back from that, because it will truly, this crisis has become, it's been international for over 2 years, but it's been international on a diplomatic level. A true regional war would internationalize it on an economic level, because China especially cannot ignore fuel being halted in the Strait of Hormuz. It can't do that, and much of the world can't handle the resulting skyrocketing of fuel prices. And that again, that all depends on, will Iran first survive the overwhelming onslaught of Israel and the U.S., given the fucking giant armada that's been assembled? And secondly, once they survive, are they able to really hit back and hit back hard?
What do you think militarily? I mean, I don't know if you know. My feeling is that the task of invading and occupying Iran would be about 1,000 times harder than Iraq, right?
No, for sure. Like, but I don't think they want to invade.
Okay.
I think they want to just do air genocide because that's clearly it's like seemed to be, or not seemed, it is just like, if you want to destroy a society, that's how you do it. At, like on a budget in quotes.
Yeah.
But again, we saw with the 12-day war, like we already have kind of an experiment, although that's like a horrible way to describe human life being destroyed. Like we do have like kind of a case study of like how would this go out. And even though Israel had total air supremacy over Iran, they were still able to punch through and land some serious hits on Israel. And like 12 days in, on the very last hours before the ceasefire, like they sent missiles and fucking killed 30 Israeli civilians by like leveling residential shit. So, like,
yeah, and the Israelis, we talked about this on the last stream here. Like the Israelis have a very low tolerance for casualties, unlike Iran, who are just used to it at this point. You know,
like that kind of. I also think like Americans haven't like although we've talked about fatigue from GWAT, like Iraq, Afghanistan.
Yeah, but what have they personally suffered overall? Come on.
No. But what I mean is like it's still been a while since like people regularly saw headlines of American troops, X many troops killed and so and are now being sent back. Like that was a fixture of my childhood, but it hasn't been a thing like in American pop culture for quite some time now.
You had to deal with the most annoying people getting PTSD.
And also the thing that people don't understand, and it's like I've been in proximity. First off, I had the Algerian Civil War. I saw what that meant. You know what I'm saying? Like building, But then I was in proximity with a lot of Syrians and people from Iraq. And okay, 10, 12 soldiers dead. Okay, it's bad. Don't get me wrong. Okay, but having your society torn into shreds, having the social fabric fucking collapse, having bombs rain down on you, just the hell that is war. Americans don't know what that is. There aren't the same costs for them. Like them bombing this place, that place. It's just a game to them. It's really just a fucking game to them. It's an abstraction. So it's in that sense, they're never going to get tired of war, right? Having not to sound like a dick, having 12 hillbillies from Arkansas get fucking killed, no one cares. Americans don't care. It doesn't materially impact their lives.
But this is like where the importance of like Iran landing hits on Israeli civilian society matters most. Because like Israel basically is the 51st state, or I guess the first state because it's number one. But like if they can really get fucked in this war, like that will be. I mean, the whole point of the Zionist project is like it's a first world society in a third world region with zero consequences for the awful shit that it does. But this will be the first time they have real, actual consequences where shit can get leveled. But we don't. This is still speculation. We don't know what's going to happen until shots are fired and until this whole thing goes off. As for like, do I like what have I like seen for like preparedness? I mean, I saw an interesting report earlier today, and it was mostly like on the political ideological level. If it's true, I actually am like pretty confident in Iranian capabilities because the biggest drawback in Iranian policy hasn't been their technological know-how, because you'll be at a disadvantage compared to the U.S. and Israel no matter what. So what matters most is your like mental fortitude and your ideological commitment, which has unfortunately not been really all there with Iran. But now it seems that so this report alleges, that the political establishment there, although they still have some disagreements, they agree that this is existential and they can't play games anymore. They have to really go all out and survive at all costs, which I think the really harsh repression of the protests in January was essentially the domestic mopping up of opposition, because like it was clearly, in large part at least, foreign orchestrated, like with fucking Pahlavi. So they were like, okay, we need to crush domestic opposition, and that way we can shore up our ranks in here, and then we'll be ready for the big war.
Yeah, I think that's something that was, that people often lost in the kind of like TikTokification, or that is the news cycle, is that like people don't have that context that the Iranian ruling class is highly cognizant that there's going to be war, that it's basically a state of protracted siege warfare, and that the real assault is coming. I think that they're very cognizant of that, and they were right. They were right. So, and I could only imagine if the US were being besieged, how it would deal with internal dissent.
I mean, this is like how
not well.
Like realistically, like this is, although we can like be aghast at the repression, like that's just how fucking any government will respond in this sort of circumstance. Like we got to be real,
Let's be real. It really isn't explainable by the theocratic elements of their government.
Yeah, like
they responded the way they did. They responded because they're a state under siege that's being internally subverted by more powerful countries. I mean,
it's the same script.
I don't like their government either, but they are.
I mean,
a nation that's defending itself in the end of the day.
Yeah, like you guys know, like for as long as I've been like fucking writing anything, like I've been very sympathetic to like left opposition in Iran. Like I do not like the IRI, but like this is the time where like, you know what, fuck it, I'm with the regime. Like they just got to lock down and like put in work.
Defense of Iran, whoever leads that defense of Iran.
Yeah, right? Like it's a matter of basic principle. I may have my issues, but this is just
Iranians don't deserve to be carpet bombed and air genocided.
Literally, it's none of our fucking business to complain about like their internal shit. Especially now.
Yeah, it's about Iran as a self, and I do think the way that
they have a right to defend themselves. Yeah,
and I will say, I think their government has had policies that have hurt its ability to defend itself against imperialism by alienating the population. And that's a criticism I think that should be made. But in the end of the day, like they are the force that will be able to defend the Iranian people from.
And it's also very difficult. It's also very, listen, like obviously none of us are parroting, like none of us fucking like, Khomeiniism or whatever. But the people also like the sanctions have been brutal.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like when you get that level of sanctions regime on your country, it's just certainly there are ways you can somewhat mitigate it, but like you basically are just fucked.
You're fucked. You're fucked. You have no access to credit. You have no real ability to sell the only asset, like the major asset you have. You're fucked. It fucks you.
Like as a society, you basically it literally is a form of war, just non-kinetic. They're still killing people by the like imposed poverty and all this shit, and like the fucking like rising political pressure on the government. Like this is.
I think The Lancet published a report recently.
Yeah.
On the toll of economic sanctions.
It's obscene.
And I want to see 38. So 500 deaths, 500,000 deaths per year. 38 million since 1970. But, The Lancet they're going to publish only things that are, how do I put it, that they're very sure of, which will generally mean like underestimation, although it's worth looking into their methodology. But yeah, it kills so many people.
And like to add on, like The Lancet is one of the most prestigious medical journals in the world.
Yeah, it's not bullshit.
Like this isn't some like fringe, like like in quotes anti-imperialist journal. Like this is like a extremely prestigious medical journal.
So it's evil. Do you remember when they were interviewing Madeleine Albright about the sanctions on Iraq that were estimated to have killed like over 100,000 children? And they asked her, was it worth it? And this fucking ghoul says Yeah, it's worth it. She's the same Madeleine Albright who writes a book about fascism. Just give me a break.
Like these people,
just the sanctimoniousness, the fucking hypocrisy is just.
It's so crazy too, like seeing war tier lies being trudged up again.
Yeah,
like oh, they're hacking women. Like they're hacking women up in their wombs and shit. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Babies in incubators type shit.
This is so.
This is funny. Absurd. I look at Reuters, and this is one of the front page stories.
Let's see.
Trump pushes U.S. economy towards war with Iran as advisors urge focus on economy.
Oh, cool. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, Nancy Pelosi in an interview the other day said, "Oh, we can just like rank up economic pressure and make the population suffer." Like they're not even pretending.
I know they're not even pretending to be against it.
Like, yeah, what I love is all this like highfalutin talk about how they care about the Iranian people and shit. Then meanwhile they're like,
they're not even doing that anymore. Like they're not even doing the charade of like, oh, we're targeting the regime. It's just no, we're gonna make the population suffer so that they do what we want.
Yeah, basically. It's just egregious.
And you have these Iranian exiles and oppositionists who are just
insane. Like actually, this is another thing. Like
they're actually insane.
This is. Yeah. I still like. I really wish there was like a good, like Anglophone left analysis of this because like everything that like I know of is just from talking to like Iranians and shit, unless like reading their media, and. Like I think, like Iranian political culture at this point is just like totally fucked, even within Iran. Unfortunately, like I was talking to an old Iranian friend of mine, like someone I genuinely respect, and even he previously hated monarchism, and now even he's like, maybe it's like the least bad choice. Like this is the fucking brainworms that they're blasting onto these people at all times, and that they're fucking just ingesting.
Well, it's also like maybe a lot of them make the calculation of like, okay, fine, we'll just submit to what the US wants. We'll submit to what Israel wants if it means they stop punishing us.
That's definitely the logic for a lot of people, but I also think like it's like the underestimated like the ideological commitment.
Well, what's hilarious is I was speaking to someone in Iranian and she's she's in the country. She's here now. And we were talking. I was asking her about what was going on. This was during the protests. And she, we were talking about the events, and she told me, oh, Pahlavi called people in the streets, and it got really, really bad. And then I was asking her, like, oh, what do you think? She's like, I don't want Pahlavi. That guy fucking sucks,
Yeah.
My parents remember that regime. They remember the torture, and they're not fans either. So I think there's also a lot of maybe the older generation.
It's a generational thing. So basically, like the people who came here a long time ago, like right after the revolution, they remember the awfulness of the Shah regime, and even if they had sympathies with them at one point, they like now know like this is a total dead end and it's like a fucking death cult. Like you'll often see that the most rabid monarchists, like with it abroad in the West, tend to be fobs, and you can see this like with how they like do politics. Like their social media posts are a really good look into their psychology because it is really similar to like Hindu nationalism and like its behavior, like this like weirdly sexual kind of like all these like fucking rape threats. Like this is like a very kind of just like rabid hysteria that is like I think like mostly a product of like being totally fresh to the West while still having these like petty beefs from Iran.
Have you seen that freak that like won like plastic surgery? Like,
who is this?
Like, he's like Persian Ken. Like he's just a freak.
I mean, that describes like every other dude in fucking.
No, I know. He's like, let me find him. I'll find him for you guys. He's just a total freak.
I just don't understand, what is Trump's pitch to the American people for this war going to be? Like, how is he going to frame this as America first? And, it's just...
It's not. It's fucking. It's eat our shit. We're doing this. That's all it is.
Yeah. It seems to be all. It seems to be the only thing Trump has going for him is just this irrational, like fear principle type cult that he has, where essentially the only thing that's there is his authority.
Yeah, and like his weird sort of personal charisma. And like again, I was too young to remember this. Like the Iraq War happened when I was 3 years old. But like talking to like my older siblings, they said that like the media war against Iraq before the war was insane. Like there was
absolutely insane. Yeah.
Like for like over a year, American media was like Saddam Hussein is the devil incarnate. He's harboring WMDs, everything. They're not even now. They're not even pretending to fucking care.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
remember that they had like what was that like stupid show on Cartoon Network, or was it Cartoon Network? It was like the Animatronics or whatever.
Animaniacs.
Animaniacs, yeah. There was like an Animaniac fucking episode where they're like trolling Saddam Hussein.
What?
Yeah, and Saddam.
I did not see that one.
Yeah, let me find the shit. And like Saddam Hussein is like this dumbass Arab, and they're just like running circles around this moron. And, yeah, Animaniacs. Yeah, here we go. Wait, yeah. Let me post this shit. It's really insane.
Yeah, you have some of the propaganda about Iran really saturated, and I don't think that they figured out how to use the new media
because
as well.
People don't care. Like, I think a lot of Americans do not care about this. Yeah, like look at this. It's literally Saddam. Dog, growing up Arab in this country was pretty hard, to be honest.
That was a fucking tune. Wow.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Soon the world would tremble as I, Saddam Hussein, unleash my really neat new armies upon the Mideast. Nothing can stand in my way.
Excuse me, is this the Baghdad Cafe?
No, who are you?
We're the Warner Brothers, we like to sing a lot. My name's Yakko. My name's Wacko. And here's our sister.
I hate America so much.
I know.
I'm the cute one. I don't get it.
This old squirrel, she is 10,000 years older than Sand. How can you be brothers and sisters?
Shh, don't tell her. She's adopted.
That's it. I'm out of here. Where's Skippy? Skippy!
Slappy!
You're not Skippy. What the heck?
Who's this guy supposed to be, the Russian?
Now, calm down.
No, he's just a typical American.
Baghdad Cafe for brunch, remember?
No.
And this is the head waiter.
What?
Darkon, a table for 3, please, by the window.
What was the point of that?
Something closer to the kitchen. This should do just.
Yo, ideology is pernicious, isn't it, huh?
It is. It really is.
Yeah, ideology is pernicious.
I saw a clip of like Israeli propaganda in the show Gilmore Girls.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It was just so ridiculous. It's all over the place.
It's definitely like, I mean, that episode was straight up written by the CIA. I don't see how else it could have made it in there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've definitely been a more positive opinion on Saddam Hussein over the years. obviously, he did some bad things. I'm not gonna be a full-on.
No, he was awful, bro. He would have killed all of us for being communist.
I mean, you know what? But like, YOLO.
Yeah, YOLO.
No, he would have killed. Listen. I'm not justifying.
Hey, listen. He was a woke king. He brought women into the professional class. You know.
Look, I'm big on secularism, non-sectarianism, feminism. I can lose the Marxism. I feel like that's like a good 3 for 4.
No, the thing is like, I mean, it's listen, like, I'm not justifying his overthrow or the invasion of Iraq. It's been like that's clear, but no, he's not a friend of ours. He's a Ba'athist, and I mean, my grandfather, God rest his soul, Abu Bakr. He was actually, after the revolution, the Algerian Revolution, he was invited to go to Iraq. I don't know if Saddam was in power. I think he was actually, and he came back to Algeria and he told my grandmother, he was like, "My God, they're so advanced. They have credit cards and and they have, the infrastructure was incredible and the schools were incredible." And he was like raving about it as like the vanguard of Arab modernity. But I mean, at the same time, we're also, we're communists, and he straight up killed or liquidated so much.
Yeah, but a lot of the communists, I'm not justifying it, but they did suck. It's just that Baathism also sucks. Like, it's not a great ideology.
No, Baathism is awful. Honestly.
Because the thing is you had two Baathist countries that hated each other. So it's like, how effective? But then again, like, you had two Marxist countries, the Soviet Union and China, each other. So,
I mean, but like, I think, like, for me, I used to be like really big on like pre-war Iraq, just because it's, comparing to, so like, first off, contemporary Muslim world, which is like total black pill everywhere.
Yeah.
And then like post-war Iraq. But like, I mean, like, I've soured on it mostly because of like just reading how delegitimized Baathism had become within Iraqi society before the war. Like, and then you can see this by the fact that nobody fought for Baathism in the insurgency. Like, all of them just became some stripe of Islamist, and most of them became like outright Salafi jihadists. And it's like, okay, if that's what happened, then clearly this ideology did not have the juice beforehand.
Exactly.
Well, the problem is that, Baathism as a strange form or variant of Arab nationalism is exactly that. It's Arab nationalism. And I mean, there's a reason that so many Baathists were straight up Nazi adjacent. Some of them were just straight up Nazis. I had an ex-girlfriend who was Syrian, and I remember talking to her, and her mother, when she was young, was like in some, like, she was like a militant. And then we were like, my ex and I were looking into her, like, into the party, and we're like, wait, this shit is like, no, this is like straight up Nazi ideology. Like, this is fucking nuts. So I think that there's, Arab nationalism, okay, it can have a progressive aspect, but when it gets into its dark part, it becomes virulent against minorities in the region, and it can become even sort of genocidal. So I'm not I listen, like, I'm one to say that Iraq before the Gulf War was the most modern Arab state, but I have no illusions about the progressive content of Baathism or of the Baathist regime.
Of course. And I mean, like, in general, I think like the debate on Arab nationalism is at this point purely historic.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a force anymore.
No, it's dead. It's completely dead.
Yeah.
I mean, it had a progressive role to play in unifying, a region that suffered imperialism. But insofar as it tried to draw on a unity between peoples and ethnic linguistic terms, it was always going to fail, because more local regionalisms will win out. Local loyalties will win out over some abstraction called the Arab world, which, okay, it has some meaning, but as I said, like, your local loyalties are more important. They're more forceful.
This book, Arab Nationalism in the 20th Century by Adid Alisha, it's a good book, and it kind of makes a similar argument that you make, which is that, like, this idea of like an Arab nation that can unify into one state was kind of based in this kind of romantic nationalist Darian wasn't really mapping into how actual real loyalties were being expressed on the ground.
Yeah, and like, also, like, I mean, Islam is fundamentally the Thai, right? Right, like.
Well, but a lot of Arab nationalists were Christians, actually, because they kind of saw Arab nationalism as
but historically, the only reason we Algerians speak Arabic, or a form of Arabic, is because of Islam. It's because of the Muslim conquests. So I mean, somewhere along the line, Christian, blah blah blah. But ultimately, the history that unites the Arab world is one that's deeply Muslim.
Right. It's a nice ideology, because obviously you want to unify as many, states into a larger entity that can challenge imperialism as effectively as possible.
But I also
no, Robert,
like I was gonna say, like I think like partially like the folly of Arab nationalism is that it's like it emerged like in the Levant, which was like the most dismembered part of the Arab world, where like so they're like the reason, and like because of like the huge sectarian diversity, like nationalism, like cultural nationalism, like the appeal of it is sort of like self-evident. But then like when you get to other parts of the Arab world, like the North Africa, for instance, like there it doesn't quite map on directly because like these are like already independently big countries, and there isn't like as much sectarian diversity to where you would need that kind of unity in those terms versus like anything else. Like, and you saw this like with Boumediene in the FLN. Like he himself was some kind of stripe of Islamist, and like that's like why he pushed classical Arabic so much because of like.
Well, he was educated in madrasa.
Yeah.
Right, which is a big distinction. Like one of my grandfathers never got schooling really, but the other one went to French school. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he's an Arabic speaker, but his education was not in religious school or madrasa. It was in the French lycée or high school. So, and that is a big, the other thing with like a place like Algeria, something I do kind of, I agree that it's not the same kind of sectarianism as in the Middle East, but in North Africa, like in a place like Algeria, Algerian nationalism is also kind of like fake because people really only give a shit about their tribe.
Well, that's the other thing. Like tribal identity.
Like in a big conflict in the ruling class of the FLN was not just between like Arab educated and French educated, but between East and West. Like East Algerians have a very particular identity compared with like West, like, and there's always been a conflict since independence, right? So, in that sense, it is kind of akin to, but one of the things we don't have is religious diversity. It's like 99% fucking Muslim and 1% some shit that no one.
And like even like within the Muslims, they're like all Sunni.
Yeah, they're all Sunni, and they all like it's all Maliki like law. It's
like there's like zero like religion.
There's like no, so like when my brother met my ex was like Greek Orthodox Syrian. He was like, "You're Christian? Like you're an Arab who's Christian?" It was like a novelty. Like it blew their mind. They were like, what? Like, did you convert to it? She's like, no, my family's been like this for generations. Like, who knows how long? And they're like, what? Like, it was like they couldn't calculate. It like made no sense to them. Like it makes, yeah. There was another moment I remember when I was visiting family, and they were very suspicious about me. They were like, "Do you believe in God?" And one day I was kind of in a bad mood, and I was like, "You know what? No, I don't." Like their whole moral universe just exploded. Like they were like, "What? Like you don't like?" It was impossible for them. So in that sense, there isn't diversity.
But I mean, like you mentioned, like tribal identity. That's still like a giant force.
Yes.
In the Arab world, like so, like it comes up in any society I read about. Like
yes.
It's like Iraq, Syria, any Arabian country across North Africa. Like tribal identity is still so huge. Even in urban, like very urbanized people, they still have a strong tribal identity, which I think I didn't really appreciate this until like I started just talking to a lot of Arabs who are like, yeah, like I personally don't care about my tribal identity, but like I know what it is, which is not a thing for like any Western person at all.
I am the most deracinated Arab in existence, and I know my tribe. Like Belahun and I'm from the, so even I know it, and I know like the families that are a part of it and who I can go see when I go to my region for help. It very much is still a thing. And that's why like it's something that people also have to understand about like post-independence nationalisms in places like Algeria or Syria. They're kind of fake. They're very new. It's very new for people.
Well, it seems like a lot of the political conflicts are basically, a lot of the purges that happen kind of are inscrutable in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I mean, like I think like
which I think it might be because of tribal
like
alliance.
Like a lot of times it is. Like I mean, for instance, like people like this was really harped on by a lot like opponents of the Iraqi Ba'ath government, and because it was like quite distorted. But the grain of truth of it was that like a lot of the core of the Iraqi Ba'ath were like fellow Tikrit people, which is like Tikrit is where Saddam Hussein himself was from.
Exactly.
His own tribe.
Yeah.
Like although
exactly.
For like a long time he like omitted his tribal identity, but like if you look into it for these people, a lot of them were from the same tribe.
Yeah.
So like, this shit does matter, and like there's this really fascinating speech from a jihadist in Arabia. This guy Faris al-Zahrani, and the Zahran are like a really big, influential tribe in Arabia, and he says like like his famous line is the Saudi nationality is under my foot, and it's like a rejection of the concept of nationality and in favor of like tribal identity. It's like something that's like legitimated by history. Like there is a real lineage here, whereas like being Saudi is like it's bullshit.
It's artificial for many people, despite this like as I said, like Algerian nationalism is very loud, but it's very artificial, and people don't how they conceive of themselves civically doesn't actually revolve around the nation. That's actually kind of why I think, for instance, you go to Algeria, you go into someone's house, it's fucking impeccable. It's just the cleanest thing you've ever seen. And then you go out in the street, you go into certain streets, and it's an open fucking, it's just shit everywhere, and they're lighting shit on fire. It's a fucking disaster. And I was thinking about it. I was like, you know why? It's because they don't actually like have this, like, they don't have a strong conception of like, I'm an Algerian citizen, and this street is my street. And I don't want to get it's like they don't give a shit. It doesn't make sense.
In a lot of places.
Yeah.
But I think we're sort of on a big digression, maybe a bit late.
No, this is a good discussion.
Well, I think it helps people also, like, one thing that it helps people get a more sort of nuanced understanding of how how class structure actually develops in these societies.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's not like we're not just saying like, oh, tribalism because the Arabs are this is the way that classes
exactly like one
actually form.
That's how subsistence is mediated in a way.
Yeah. Like for instance, like I was in rural Pakistan recently in December, and I'm Pashtun, so that's like a very tribal society, and like a lot of times, like this is especially the case during the war. Like first off, tribal identity is super real. Like people still have will look on someone badly if they belong to a certain tribe. These stereotypes, all this shit is totally real, and I'm sure this is the case even like. You guys probably have your own equivalent, like in Algeria. And people, like during the wars, tribes would mobilize their own like tribal militias, or we call them lahkars, and like send young men across the border to fight the Americans. Like this was like a really deep, that's how politics is mediated in a lot of places. That like you have a tribe, and when it's under attack, you mobilize, or like when there's like this broader jihad, you mobilize, you pick up your guns and you go fight. Or like if a tribe, like with the Pakistani Taliban, the TTP, if they have beefs with the tribe, they'll meet tribal leaders, and then whatever the tribe decides, you go with that. So if you're at war, you're picking up your guns. If you're at peace, then you're hanging out. And that follows. That's how politics is mediated. That's how all this shit works. Like that's how you get jobs a lot of the time. Like that's another huge thing in so many of these societies. Like you need to get a job. Even if a shitty one, you need to know somebody, and the best way to do that is like you are in the same tribal network.
Yeah, and so that's like as I said, it's kind of like this is how class structure actually. This is how do I say? This is like the specific microdynamics of how classes actually form in many societies. It's like really important to look at these like networks, tribal networks, and stuff like that. So. But I think it helps people kind of just have a general methodology for these regions. It's not like falling into the whole like Orientalism about like Arabs are tribalistic and blah blah blah. It's just like this is how class works there.
Like with Iraq, Iraq is another really great example because the U.S. military came into contact with Arab tribal identity like just head on in Iraq, and because and the reason for that was that tribes would mobilize as insurgents, and then later on as a pro-coalition like militias because they're tribal. Their sheikhs would say so. Like initially, you know, a lot of tribes would join the jihadists because the sheikh said so, and then they flipped because again the sheikh said so, and a lot like that was a huge. I didn't realize this until doing my like big fucking research project on the Iraq War, which is like, you know, this shit mattered a ton with jihadist politics in Iraq. Like you had even within the same tribe, you'd have sub tribes fighting each other because they were divided over which part of the insurgency they belonged to. And like again, but then the question then is like, why does this have such staying power? Because it comes back to class. Like if you listen to your sheikh because he's the one who gives you a job or he's the one who gives you money.
Right.
Yeah.
And like it's also tied directly into the destruction of these societies, like first through sanctions and then through actual war. You can't get a fucking normal job, so you rely on these patronage networks that like essentially fragment society and destroy any concept of a national identity.
Yeah.
So you start relying more on like the big tribe in Iraq is the Dulaim. You rely more on the Dulaim instead of like a concept of Iraqi civic identity.
Yeah.
Or some sort of sectarian identity of like, oh, I'm Sunni or I'm Shia.
But in a sense, that's also kind of why, that is actually why Arab nationalism, it's ambivalent, right? But it did have that progressive content because the notion was to try to develop a more abstract identity that didn't revolve around sort of the, you know, all the personal aspects of your life. Anything which, in my opinion, pushes us to a universalism of recognizing each other is positive. Of course, that universalism in the abstract is blocked by the reality of class struggle, but the hope is that under communism, we do realize a genuine international human culture that we all share, right? Mm-hmm. So, but you know, I mean, it's why it's important that at least Algerians learn the civic pride of being Algerian and what it actually means beyond just saying, you know, I'm Algerian and I'm proud of it, right? Like acting like it, you know, so.
Someone asked if there's any Marxists who analyze tribalism.
Well, I mean, you got Rob on. Damn, check out.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's sort of incidental for me, but like, I need to think. I'm not sure. There's probably some fucking like obscure Arab Marxists that like no one in New Left Review cites because they don't give a shit.
Yeah, there's got to be stuff out there.
Like, there's no, because it's just too big of a phenomenon. But
it's the whole phenomenon of tribal. It does remind me of like patronalism.
Yeah, that's what
patronalism in Eastern Europe and post-Soviet societies.
Like it's essentially what it is. And I think like if you want a really good materialist analysis of tribalism, like particularly with respect to Iraq, is just look up CENTCOM documents. Like there's this website called, hang on, let me find it. This is the link. I'll just put it in the chat. I'm not sure how to put it in the official chat.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
So that link that I just put, that has every single declassified CENTCOM document related to Iraq. And you can, I think one of them is called the Anbar Tribal Study, which is this 300-page document about all the tribal life in Anbar province in Iraq. It's this fucking amazing case study, which I really recommend reading. And then there's also like just my study of the insurgency, like just tribe comes up so much. Like it is, I mean, like although we hate on America justifiably, there is its intelligence reports are genuinely really amazing in terms of the information that you can get out of it.
God damn, you help with all the money they spend. Fuck.
Yeah,
spend so much goddamn money.
No, Rob, it's bad that you rely on these sources. You can't use these sources. It makes you.
Oh yeah. I have
just as bad as them.
I should get in my time machine and personally interview everybody.
But you can only trust sources from 1970s Ba'athist.
Shit, we don't have $1 trillion a year to spend. Fuck. You gotta get some info out of $1 trillion. You know, goddamn, what's it worth?
Oh my god! As a side note, that complaint really irritates me every time I get it. Like, oh, why don't you cite this? Like, fuck you.
Before Israel Shahak and Mavinsky's book came out on Jewish fundamentalism in Israel, the only like source that was available was basically this paper that I can't remember what think tank did it, but it was one of those big think tanks did like a whole investigation into Jewish fundamentalism in Israel in response to the Jonathan Pollard case.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the first place to start if you were looking to research that back then. So it's just
it's also, I mean, like, this is again like the broader sort of pedagogical thing of like, it's information. Like, you get, like, you sift through the bias, like, you get what you need, and then you fucking use your brain. Like, nothing will be spoon fed to you in this world. If you want that, like, go be a baby and fucking eat baby food.
Exactly. Nothing is. Yeah, people just want to read like some, crank ML website. I mean, I guess I'm no one to speak there. That will tell them like what to think on everything. And
well, the thing is like there's information, there's kind of quote unquote raw information, and then there's analysis and interpretation. And you hope that the first is not contaminated too much by the rotten brain of imperialists. But yeah, as you said, you have to then do the work of weeding out what's true, what's not. You go to different sources, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, what do people want, right? You can't just read people who agree with you all the time.
Yeah, and it's like, I fucking like with I'll like go to the other end, which is like read primary sources from jihadists.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, now I'm going straight to the source, but then people will complain like, oh, why are you reading these freaks? Like fuck you. Like, I need to dig.
It kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier. There's like an assumption that like nobody except for Marxists work according to their ideology.
Yeah, it's so fucking dumb. Like,
like if somebody, like, whenever we talk about our beliefs, we're being completely sincere, et cetera, et cetera. But when other people talk about their beliefs, they're just like masking their true economic motivations. There's no way that they could actually believe this stuff, and that these beliefs could guide their actions. Which isn't to say that economic determinism isn't true, but it's just that the ideology does have its own dynamics, as we said earlier.
Yeah. Shit is complicated, basically.
Yeah.
It all comes back to just doing the work. Like, use your brain.
Exactly. Study the question.
Anyway.
Yeah, Algeria's been the Algerian government. I mean, the Polisario, my grandfather was very involved in that conflict, and I'm very proud that Algeria has always supported the Polisario and the right of the Sahrawi to self-determination. But recently, Algeria really disappointed me in.
Yeah, I saw that.
The government voting to okay this grotesque, quote-unquote, peace plan. And it's a betrayal of the Palestinian people that they did so. I think I know why. I'm sure that the Americans bullied them into it. But it's still very sad to see them vote for such a horrid document.
I think, like, just as like a side note, the Polisario thing is very, like with the Sahel stuff I write about. One thing I didn't realize is that like a decent amount of jihadists come from the Western Sahara, and it makes sense. Like, the same reason that like jihadists would come from like the Palestinian diaspora. It's a very deeply victimized people, and they're going to look for radical solutions, whatever they may be.
A good proportion of the Sahrawi are in refugee camps.
Yeah, exactly. That's like, those are hotbeds for just insane ideology.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think we're getting to a good point to wrap up.
Yep.
Sean's on the phone over there. But yeah, so thanks for coming on and talking, Rob, as always.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, sorry, life calls me.
All good. Yeah. So
thank you for coming on, Rob. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, I think hopefully this war with Iran does not end in complete destruction of Iranian society, and maybe the United States and Israel can face some embarrassment, but I don't know. It's very concerning what's happening.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
like and subscribe. Check out Cosmonaut Magazine. If you can, support us on Patreon. We always need money to run this. We do this for free, but it's expensive running this thing.
Spread the word. Tell everybody.
Yeah, spread the word. Check out Rob's. Rob, you want to post your Substack, and we'll plug you.
I always appreciate the plug, guys. Oops. Hang on. Didn't fucking.
Okay, and I gotta run, my guys. My my dog needs to get walked.
All right, there you go.
All right.
Here's the link.
Sweet. All right, cool. And I'll end the stream on that note.
All right. Thanks so much, guys, as always.